Welcome back, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. Our explainer today is Rakta Pishachini, dissecting the secret behind the wall. And let me tell you, if you are fascinated by the mechanics of a truly brilliant psychological thriller, you are in the perfect place. We are going to meticulously break down the narrative structures, the sensory storytelling, and those spine-chilling twists that make this specific chapter an absolute masterclass in suspense. Get ready, because the psychological horror we're about to unravel together is literally going to leave you speechless.
I want you to just let this sink in for a second. What happens when the monster you are hunting is actually the one protecting you? We're totally bypassing our usual rundown today because I want you to feel the exact same disorientation our protagonist feels right from the jump. This single question is the foundation of the cold open we're stepping into. It completely flips our understanding of good and evil, of safety and danger. Keep this paradox in the back of your mind, all right? Because it's the key to the whole shebang.
Okay, section 1, the hidden room. Let's just put ourselves right in the shoes of our protagonist, Raghav. Picture this. He is entirely alone, trapped inside this solitary, mysterious cabin situated deep in the middle of a dense forest. Outside, there's a relentless, deafening rainstorm. His heart is pounding so hard he can't even hear his own breathing as he stands in front of this old wall, just knowing in his gut that something is terribly, terribly wrong.
Notice how brilliantly the author uses sensory pacing here. They're isolating the auditory buildup of dread, step by step, way before any physical threat even appears. First, a picture hanging on the wall suddenly drops. Then step 2, Raghav hears a sound. Thunk, thunk, thunk. It's a slow knocking, but it's coming from inside the wall. Step 3, he presses his ear to the cold surface, and after a few agonizing seconds, he hears the chilling whisper of an old man from the other side. She is watching you. And finally, step 4, those approaching footsteps, the agonizing chair, which we'll decode in just a moment. This step-by-step layering of sound, it is a textbook technique for just paralyzing the audience with anticipation.
So when that picture falls to the floor, it reveals something deeply unsettling scratched directly into the wall behind it. It just reads, "Do not take me out." And beneath that cryptic, desperate warning is a date. July 17th, 1956. Now, for those of you tracking the lore of the story, you know exactly why that date sends shivers down the spine. That is the exact day the character Maya originally disappeared. The author is instantly tethering the present-day horror inside this cabin to a 70-year-old unsolved mystery.
Which brings us to section 2, the impossible skeleton. Now, Raghav doesn't just run away. Driven by this insane mix of sheer terror and adrenaline, his whole body shivering, he grabs an axe and delivers a massive blow to the structure. The wall shatters, revealing a small hidden room. And sitting squarely in the center of this forgotten, dust-choked space is a heavy wooden coffin. And what's truly terrifying about this wooden coffin is the massive subversion of our expectations. It's wrapped in thick, heavy iron chains. Engraved onto these chains is a clear Sanskrit inscription that demands, "Do not open." But consider the facts here. The chains are already broken, and they aren't broken from the outside. No, they are shattered from the inside out. Whatever was locked inside this box, whatever that warning was meant to contain, it's already escaped.
Raghav, with his hands just trembling uncontrollably, lifts the lid of the coffin. Inside lies a skeleton. It's dressed in an old, decaying police uniform. But actually, that's not the real horror here. The horror is the identification card hanging around the skeleton's neck. It reads, Inspector Raghav Singh. The 70-year-old corpse shares his exact name, his exact uniform, and an impossibly mirrored identity.
I really want you to actively think about this paradox for a second. How can the skeleton inside a 70-year-old coffin be the exact same man who just opened it? This is the moment the narrative shifts gears from a standard haunted house trope into absolute mind-bending psychological horror. Raghav stumbles backward, muttering that this is impossible. The structural rules of reality in this universe have just fractured, and as an audience, we are just as disoriented and horrified as he is. So moving to section 3, a reincarnation diary. How do we understand this impossible physics? How are these two entities the very same person? Well, as Raghav stares in sheer disbelief, he spots a mysterious diary resting inside the coffin alongside the skeleton. And chillingly, it seemingly opens itself to the very first page.
If you are reading this, it means I have returned. Raghav's hands are shaking as he reads the next lines. I am Inspector Raghav Singh.
If you are reading this, understand that you are my next birth. Boom. The author firmly establishes the supernatural twist of reincarnation right here. The deceased inspector from decades past is speaking directly across the gulf of time to his present-day self. It's the ultimate bridge between the historical mystery and the present danger. Let's trace this terrifying timeline of events, because it's like a giant twisted puzzle. In 1956, Maya disappears. Roughly 70 years ago, the original Inspector Raghav dies, locked in this hidden room, but not before writing this very diary. Fast forward to the present day, the reincarnated Raghav breaks the wall and uncovers his own past life. The overarching mystery of Maya is inextricably tied to Raghav's own soul.
The diary continues, containing this grim, world-shattering confession. We thought we killed Maya, but our real mistake wasn't her. The mistake was what stood behind her. Do you see what's happening? The author is shifting the narrative focus right before our eyes. Maya, who up until this point has been framed as the primary antagonist or the core mystery, is suddenly cast aside. There is an unseen, far more dangerous entity lingering in the shadows of this story. Which brings us to Section 4, the Faceless Man. Because right as Raghav processes this terrifying revelation, the theoretical dread from the diary manifests into a very physical threat. Suddenly, from outside the cabin, there's the sound of footsteps in the mud. Char, char, char. Someone or something is slowly approaching the cabin door. Raghav looks out the window, and his blood absolutely freezes. Standing out there in the pouring rain is a tall man wearing a black coat. But as Raghav looks closer, he realizes this entity has no face. Where the facial features should be, there's only a void, pure, impenetrable, pitch-black darkness. This isn't just a monster. It's a literal embodiment of darkness and absence. The author creates this horrifying visual that just chills the blood because it represents an unknowable, faceless terror that absolutely cannot be reasoned with. This leads us right into our final section, Part 5, the ultimate plot twist. The author takes everything we assumed about the horror tropes in this narrative and completely, irreversibly shatters them. We're set up for the grand finale of this chapter, and it relies entirely on weaponizing our own assumptions against us. Let's compare what we expected with this horrifying new reality. For the entire story, our expectation was that Maya is the monster, right? And that the ultimate threat was whatever was locked inside that chained coffin. But the reality? The reality is that Maya is the protector. And the true world-ending threat isn't in the coffin at all. It's standing right outside the cabin door. Flipping the script like this creates such a profound sense of vulnerability. It means our protagonist hasn't just been fighting the wrong enemy, he's been actively hunting the only thing keeping him safe. As the faceless entity approaches, the diary's final page suddenly opens itself. It reveals one last sentence to Raghav. Maya was never the monster. She was protecting people from it. I really want you to feel the absolute gravity of that line. This one singular sentence completely recontextualizes the entire narrative we've explored. Every action Maya took, every terrifying rumor about her, was actually a desperate attempt to hold back the dark. And that brings us to the heart-stopping final climax of the scene. The cabin door begins to slowly creak open, that agonizing char sound. The faceless man outside lifts his head for the first time, and a voice echoes through the entire forest, demanding, "Where is Maya?" But here is the ultimate twist of the knife. In that exact moment, Raghav hears Maya's voice, and for the very first time, Maya, the supposed monster, the terrifying legend, is truly, genuinely terrified. Her voice is trembling with absolute panic as she asks, "How did it get here?" And that, my friends, is where the author drops the curtain. It leaves us with this final chilling thought. If the terrifying monster of the story, the entity that the police in the town have feared for 70 years, is paralyzed with fear, what exactly just walked through that door? The stakes have escalated beyond measure, and our understanding of the universe has been turned completely upside down. Thank you so much for joining me to dissect this incredible piece of storytelling. Keep questioning the narrative, stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.